if I woke up 30 pounds overweight tomorrow and I wanted to lose it by the end of 2025, then this is exactly what I would do. And actually, this is exactly what I did do to lose 40 pounds, but it's also exactly what Molly, our client, did over the last 12 weeks to go from 190 pounds to now 165. And I do have to put a little disclaimer and warning here. If you follow these steps, then you will not only lose weight, but as Molly said, I just had my annual physical and I no longer have pre-diabetes or high cholesterol, both dropped into a normal range. So you're also going to improve every single health marker, so there's that. Before we get into the 13 things that you're going to do over the next 3 months, you need to understand how fat loss works. And the only way it works is getting you into what's called a calorie deficit. This is how all diets work. It's how keto, fasting, starch solution, raw till 4, any kind of macros or calorie counting, they all work by having you consume less calories than what you burn. And what this does is it forces your body to dip into those rainy day stored funds, which is your fat cells, and then to deplete them over time. So if you're not losing weight, you're not in a calorie deficit. And if you are losing weight, no matter what somebody says, and I hate that there are influencers out there that say that you can lose weight without being in a calorie deficit, but if you have lost weight, it was because you were in a calorie deficit. So the 13 things that I'm going to show you are things that are all aiming to get you into a calorie deficit while also being things that you're going to do for the rest of your life in order to maintain those results. Because there's no point just losing 30 pounds in 3 months and then gaining it all back. Side quest, this is the biggest thing that changed for me when I lost 40 pounds 6 years ago, is I went into it with a mindset that I wanted to do this for life. I knew that I could not handle losing all the weight again and then gaining it back, and that whatever I did had to be sustainable. 6 years on, I'm in better shape in my mid-30s than I ever was in my 20s. And I have 2 kids and have maintained all the weight I lost, so this works. Step number 1 is that you're going to eat 1.5 pounds of vegetables a day. So I've said in previous videos to eat about 1 pound a day, but if you're wanting to lose 30 pounds in 3 months, it's quite aggressive. So upping those veggies a little bit more is going to get you into that maximum weight loss zone. And this is exactly what Molly did as well. She actually had this so consistent and marked that off as her habits every single day with her coach. And it's been one of the biggest things that's contributing to her massive success. She's still continuing to lose weight, by the way. And the easiest way to do this is going to be splitting those vegetables between your lunch and your dinner, which is exactly what Molly did and what I do as well. And we're going to talk about lunch and dinner in a moment, so hang tight. The second thing you want to do is you want to stop cooking with oil. Oil is the highest calorie food on the planet. Whether that is olive oil or seed oils, they're very high in calories. It's a highly processed product which has had all the fiber and the water removed, which is what condenses the calories when you have something like sugar. It's had fiber and water removed. It's the same kind of process. So in terms of getting healthy fats, we're going to get them from avocados, we're going to get them from nuts, we're going to get them from seeds, but we're not going to get them from oils, because adding oils to your cooking or eating oils at all adds thousands of calories per week without adding any additional fullness. It's not going to help you to feel more satisfied, which is why it's the easiest hack in the beginning that you can make is to just cook without oil. Step number 3 is you're going to stop drinking your calories. So this means that you're going to cut out alcohol, you're going to stop drinking fizzy drinks, you're going to stop drinking really anything that has calories in it, apart from coffee and tea if you love to drink them, because I'm a coffee drinker and I just want to have my coffee every day. And the reason for this is that calories from sugary drinks just add up very fast. Calorie from alcohol adds up very fast, and especially when it comes to alcohol, you have this downward negative spiral when you drink, which comes from drinking a lot of calories from the alcohol itself, making worse decisions. That midnight drunk burrito, we've all been there. It lowers inhibitions, which is why it's so fun. But then also setting you up to fail the next day where you're more sluggish, you maybe have a hangover. Your body is trying to get rid of like a ton of toxins. Like alcohol is just not good for you, which is why I will drink it very rarely. And I didn't drink any alcohol during my fat loss phase, which was very helpful for me to actually get the weight off. So in terms of if you still want to drink coffee or tea, look for a splash of soy milk or a splash of oat milk or almond milk in your coffees. I like to order a brown sugar shaken espresso at Starbucks or something equivalent when I go and drink a coffee, because I do drink coffee every day and I like to go to cafes. But the way that I do this is that I look for either not sweetened or like one pump, like one little pump, and then less milk. So something like a flat white or cold brew with a little bit of milk on top. This is the easiest way to stay under that 150 calorie range. And actually, if you go to Starbucks or if you go to most cafes, you're going to see the list of calories there. It's going to help you to have a very good gauge of how varied it is when it comes to drinks. You can drink a black coffee, which is going to be about 5 calories. You can also drink a coffee, which is 600, 700 calories. So that does really rack up, and it's going to make it much harder harder to get into that weight loss zone and give you much less calories for your actual food. So just avoid that during this 3-month period and for the rest of your life, let's be honest. Number 4 is to actually create a routine that you can stick to. And I talked about in a recent video, one of the myths that a lot of people have is that you should be eating on your hunger and fullness cues, and I completely disagree. When you set yourself up with a routine that you can stick to, you train yourself to be hungry at certain times, and you also make it much more likely for your habits to stay consistent with what you're eating and how you're eating and whether you're prepped for those meals, because you have created consistency in terms of time blocks. There's a reason that we have school at a certain time. There's a reason that we have work starting at 9 a.m. or whenever it is that you start. There is a reason that we have consistency when it comes to time in other areas of our lives. There's a reason that getting up at the same time every day, even if that's the weekend, is better for your body and better for your habits. And it's no different when it comes to food. So what you want to do is think about your routine and when it is that you can structure in your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And even if you're not hungry in the mornings, which most people aren't, hunger is the lowest at about 8 a.m. and it's the highest at about 8 p.m. This is just natural in our bodies to do with our circadian rhythms, but you still should eat even though you're not hungry. I know it's sad, I know it's crazy, you got to do it. I was like forcing down my oats this morning. So for me, I like to have my breakfast a little bit later in the day. I'll normally have it when I get home from dropping my kids off at school, so my kids are going to have breakfast in the morning. I'm going to get a coffee, I'm going to do a couple of things, and then I'm going to have my oats about 9 a.m. because it fits in with a lot of the meetings that I'm doing or other things structured throughout my day. Then I normally have lunch at around like 1:30. I like to have a little bit of a later lunch because I find the time between lunch and dinner is when I get hungriest. So the later that I have my lunch, the easier it is for me to stay consistent between lunch and dinner. And then dinner, I do actually like to have quite early because if I don't, I will end up snacking a lot. Hopefully you can see from the way that I'm explaining this that I've learned what works for me over time. I'm working with my hunger as opposed to against it, but I'm still on a routine. So dinner, I'm normally going to have like around like 6 p.m. And then I also have scheduled in that I will have something for dessert. So I'll have something small for dessert. And then if I need to snack, I'm going to snack on vegetables, which again, I am going to talk about. But getting into a routine, something that works with your schedule, is going to make it much easier for you to build those long-term habits that are going to keep you consistent, as opposed to having a trigger, which is just, oh, I'm hungry now. There's no food prepped. I'm not in a place when I can eat. And that's when you go through a drive-through. That's when you put a frozen pizza in the oven or a Pop-Tart in the toaster. We want to avoid that at all costs. Routine is your friend now and forever. All right, so what do we eat? What do we eat in a routine? We're going to start with breakfast, and that is the 5th step, which is to create a high-fiber breakfast. And so what I have done and what our most successful clients do, what we teach people to do inside of my program, is to have oats. If there's some reason that you can't have oats, then obviously, and you're allergic or whatever else it is, then there is going to be things you can have as an equivalent. But for most people, 90% of people, oats is the way to go. Why? It's because it is full of fiber. It's a meal that you can have which you can make sweet, and we do tend to crave sweet things. Oats with fruit is a very, very low calorie option. Fruit also helps to slow the absorption of oats in your bloodstream, which is going to reduce that blood sugar spike. It's going to give you long lasting energy, and because it's high in fiber, especially when you have it with something like flax, which is what I recommend, a tablespoon of ground flax with your oats, with your fruit, with a little bit of soy milk. I like to do a little bit of soy yogurt in there as well, and I also do a scoop of protein powder. Then that meal eaten in the morning helps you to have something called the ileal effect later at night, which is that when you have undigested calories reach your ileal, which is around your colon, then your body detects that, and it's a natural hunger suppressant. So eating breakfast in the morning is not just so that you feel fuller between breakfast and lunch, it's so that you actually reduce your cravings after dinner when they are most strong. When you are wanting chocolate, you had your fiber-filled breakfast in the morning, you're much less likely to actually crave it, and your cravings are significantly reduced. There are so many studies that look at the effect of this, and it is incredibly effective. So eat your oat breakfast in the morning. And by the way, this is exactly what Molly did as well. You can see her picture here where she was having her oats with her fruits, and she also added cauliflower in, which is just another way to bulk out it more and reduce the calories if that is something that you're wanting to do. Veggies, 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 veggies. Okay, so let's talk about lunch. And I thought a lot about what was the different options that I could give you for lunch that are going to be effective for fat loss. I wanted to give you a little bit of variety. And then I looked at all of Molly's meals, and she has the exact same lunch that was been the most effective strategy for me as well. It's a very simple system, and a variation of it is something that I've seen all of our clients who have lost 40, 50, 60, 80 pounds plus implement. So I want to show you what actually works, and I would recommend that you embrace the simplicity of this so that you can have more variation with your dinner. And it's just so simple that I know there's going to be resistance to it. And that is that you have broccoli. Broccoli is amazing. Steamed broccoli, and then you have either potato or sweet potato, and then you have a bit of tofu. And so you have these three components, and this is kind of the perfect meal when you have this. You can mix up your vegetables a little bit. You can have different variations of tofu. You can have sweet potato, you can have potato, you could have yams. So you can mix this up a little bit, and what I like to do is just mix up my condiments. So I'll have barbecue sauce, sometimes I'll do sweet chili, sometimes I'll do hummus, but this meal right here has all of the things that you need for a perfect weight loss meal. One of them being potatoes. And so eating potatoes every single day when you're in an intentional fat loss phase and you're wanting to maximize your fullness, which is very important when you're in a calorie deficit and just in general, because it's going to stop you from overeating. This meal is incredibly simple. Part of that is a benefit because it allows you to put it on autopilot. It's very, very easy to prep. All you really need is your potatoes cooked up. You can either cook your sweet potatoes in a huge batch, which is what I do. You can microwave a potato on the fly. You can boil up some little potatoes, which is something that I've been doing a lot recently, with some salt. And then the tofu recipe that I have, like, you have to try this. I just put nutritional yeast and Vegeta stock. Air fryer until crispy, and it is like, I know there's a lot of people in the comments that have loved this tofu, fall in love with it. Please write a comment. Just let the world know that this is life-changing. Here's another little side quest. I was in the UK a couple of weeks ago at a party. Someone comes up to me. They're not vegan. They're like, hey, like, I follow your channel. I started cooking your tofu recipe and it's changed my life. So it works. And then the broccoli is so easy because you can either use a broccoli steamer, which is what I used to do when I was in New Zealand, or which is what I do now, and I freaking love, is I just buy those plastic bags of broccoli and I put it in the microwave. And so the simplicity of this meal is that it comes together in about 5 minutes. But the beauty here is that every one of these components is also going to give you the fullness that you have. So you have this kind of maximum return on investment, which is going to keep you fuller for longer. And potatoes are so important for this when it comes to long-term fat loss, because they're going to help you to reduce your cravings. They are the highest satiety food on the planet. And so when you're losing weight, and really just when you're on any kind of health journey and you want to eliminate hunger, potatoes should be something that you eat at least once a day, and preferably multiple times a day. I'm going to eat them a lot of the time at dinner as well, and especially when I'm wanting to maximize my weight loss, which to me just means that I up my consistency. I know I need to eat more potatoes because it's going to help me to do that. And Molly had a variation of this where she used some different type of tofu, but she had her broccoli and she had her potatoes in there. And for the most part, when I looked at her 3 months at meals, this was her lunch. It really does work. And it also allows you to be really looking forward to your dinner, which is step number 7, and that is to create a component bowl or an equivalent for your dinner. And a component bowl really just takes all of the elements of building a weight loss bowl, and we use a stack framework, which stands for starch, which is potatoes, rice, grains, tea, 4 tons of vegetables. This is where you're going to be getting your other 3/4 of a pound of veggies in. Broccoli will be your 3/4 of a pound to a pound, by the way, in your lunch when you do it in this manner. A of the stack framework is going to be for add protein, which is why we had the tofu in our lunch and the protein powder in our breakfast. C, which is control for fats. You want to have a very small amount of fat when you're building a weight loss meal, which is why the flax from my breakfast is really the only little bit of fat in there in terms of overt fats. Overt meaning that most of the calories in that come from fats. And then when it comes to my lunch meal, the tofu also has some fat in there as well. And then when I'm having hummus, there's a little bit of tahini in there. So you can see that I'm controlling, and I'm really not having a lot of fats. I'm not having any of that olive oil that we talked about. I'm having a very small amount of avocado. If I'm going to add avocado to a sushi bowl, which is something that I have for a dinner every week, then I'm going to add about 1/4 of an avocado. Like, I really minimize that. And then the K of the stack framework is to kick up the flavor. That's why I've got sweet chili, barbecue sauce, soy sauce, salt and pepper. I'm not eliminating the flavor, because the flavors is what's going to help me to actually make this a lifestyle. It's going to make me enjoy my food. It's going to give me a lot of satisfaction, and it's going to mean that I can do this long term, not just for 3 months, because let's face it, even doing something for 3 months is incredibly difficult. You try and do this today, it's not going to be super easy. It's going to be as easy as it can be in terms of fullness, but it still takes time to develop these habits. 3 months is a long time to stay consistent, which is why we want to make this as easy as we possibly can while also maximizing return. But in terms of a meal formula, this oats breakfast, potato, broccoli, tofu lunch, component bowl dinner has been shown to be the most effective, and it's what I use and will always come back to if I'm intentionally in a fat loss phase, and how I lost the 40 pounds. So use it. Number 8 is you want to drink about 80 ounces of water a day, which is about 2.5 liters. And drinking water is going to help you to feel more full. It's good for your body. We all know that we should be drinking more water. And this is something that I saw when I looked at like Molly in particular, that she had as a very, very consistent habit where she was drinking that big volume of water every single day. I struggle to drink water, so this is something that I'm working on, but I also find that when I drink water before a meal, like it does help me to feel more full. When I'm feeling snacky a lot of the time, it's because I have this kind of itchy mouth where I want to eat something or I want to put something in my mouth. So if I have a bit of water and then I get on with what I'm doing, it does actually help to satisfy it sometimes. Now, I'm not advocating for using water as a means to curb your hunger. I'm advocating for using water for all the benefits that it provides. The way that you want to curb your hunger is with your meals. And if you are going hungry, you probably just need to eat more food, and especially more potatoes. Please do stick around to the end of this video, because I'm going to go over why hunger is so important that we don't beat it and that we work with it. It's genuinely the only way to stay consistent. So bear that in mind as well. The 9th step you can actually pair with your water, and that is to have about 5 milligrams of creatine every single day. Creatine is probably the most researched supplement. It is incredibly helpful for preserving muscle as you're losing weight and also improving your performance in terms of like strength training. So it is something that, like, this is kind of probably new for me to be recommending, but there is zero harm and so many benefits to doing that, no matter what age, no matter whether you are like actively massively in the gym or you're quite sedentary. Take some creatine, 5 milligrams every day. I like to put it in now. I was taking gummies, and then the company that I was using, this is like another kind of like a little funny side quest. The company that I was using, they found out, like they didn't even know this, that their creatine gummies didn't even have creatine in them. They were getting like shit from China or something. Crazy debacle. So obviously you want to be very, very sure that you know what creatine company you are using and that it does actually have creatine in it. I, at this point, do not have anyone that I would recommend. Do your own research, but do take creatine. Number 10 is to be very intentional with your movement. Build a movement routine where you can get 8 to 10,000 steps per day. And when I say movement routine, a lot of people struggle to get their steps in because they don't build this into something that they can realistically do day to day. So when I say routine, I'm saying make a decision that instead of taking your kids to school in a car, that you walk there. Make a decision that if there's a consistent place that you go to every day, whether that's a cafe, whether that's to the gym, that you walk there. Tie that to your workout. If you are going to the gym, be on the treadmill for 20 minutes before you start your workout. Tie that to something like watching a movie. If you have an indoor treadmill, you have to get walking into something that is going to be tied to consistencies within your day. Otherwise, you're going to get to like 10 p.m. at night, realize that you only have 5,000 steps. Walking is incredibly helpful for fat loss and just for cardiovascular health. Like, it's just one of the best things that you can do. So 8 to 10,000 steps, but work that into a realistic schedule for your day. Number 11 is going to trigger some people, but you need to weigh yourself every single day and then take an average every single week. When you do it in this manner, you're going to get an accurate view of whether you are making progress, and then you're going to be able to make adjustments as you go. By the way, like, if you are doing this, you are going to be making progress. This is just going to help you to see it, and it's going to be able to keep you accountable to continuing to put in those inputs. Do not neglect weighing yourself every day as a habit. This habit has been shown to be incredibly beneficial for long-term weight maintenance. So see this as the beginning of your long-term, lifelong leanness strategy. It's not just a weight loss strategy. There's been nothing negative correlating between weighing yourself every day and anything kind of negative mentally. It's probably going to feel a little bit like exposure therapy to begin with when you hop on the scales and you don't like the number you see and it fluctuates like this. But as you can see from Molly's graph, those fluctuations like this are actually really normal. What you're looking for over time is that downward trend, and that's what you're going to see when you're consistent with this system. One of the most demotivating things when you're trying to lose weight is to hop on the scales a week after hard dieting only to see that number go up. Whereas if you had been taking an average every single day, you would have seen those fluctuations, and maybe that one day that you hopped on happened to be a random high. You would have been able to mitigate for that by having more data. So don't neglect this as a habit. Wait every single day, look for that downward trend, and then take your averages week to week. Number 12 is also going to be very uncomfortable, and that is to take a progress picture every single week. I hate this. I think this is the habit that I have hated the most. But I'm also so incredibly grateful that I have taken progress pictures. You can see like my before, like I really did not want to be in this photo. I was like struggling so much. I did not want to look at it. That photo has become like such a hallmark of where I was. Assume that you're going to get out of this. Assume that that before is going to become like a thing of gravity for you. That if you are consistent, just like I was, just like Molly, that can be a hallmark of something of where you were that you're never going to experience again. You never get to go back in time and take those photos again. Take it for the big reveal, but also take it to see your progress week to week and to hold yourself accountable. Especially if you don't have like external accountability, this is going to make sure that you stay on track because you know that that is coming up. It's going to help you to see the progress week to week when you don't necessarily see it on the scales. And it is one of those habits that, as uncomfortable it is, if you do it, you are putting a vote for the kind of person that you want to be, and you're much more likely to see that success simply by being the person that can do that very uncomfortable thing, put a marker in the sand, hey, even though I don't like it, I will do it, and then reap the benefits from that. So take a photo every single week. Number 13 is to snack on veggies. I could have put this in the meal system, I don't know why I didn't, but if you are going to snack on either veggies or fruits. They are the lowest calorie foods, especially vegetables, only about 100 calories per pound. And most of the time when we're snacking, it's either because we have that itchy mouth, we just want to put something into our mouth, we're used to soothing ourselves with food, or we're just hungry. So if you're hungry, eat a little bit more at your meals, and if you're snacky, snack on vegetables. This is one of the most effective habits when it comes to losing weight, and especially 30 pounds in 3 months, which is quite insane results. So you are going to need to be snacking on veggies. Number 14, finally, is to have some level of accountability. So all of the system that I've described, there's this almost hesitation for me to share all of this because this is pretty much what we do inside of a coaching program, and there's accountability to do it. So if you do not have the accountability of a coach, then find some kind of accountability and another way of helping you to have at least a little bit, whether that is a friend that you explain the system to, whether this is someone that you send this video to and say, hey, I'm going to be doing this over the next 3 months, and you schedule in times to check in with them, whether that is someone that you say, hey, like meet me at the gym 3 times a week, and hey, I'm doing this system, whether that is that you post on social media and you tell the world on Facebook that you're going to be doing this, whether you create YouTube videos, whatever you're doing, you are going to need some kind of accountability, and external social pressure is like the best way to do this. So make sure you find that. And by the way, I have a free community that you can utilize if that is something that you're wanting, and of course I also have a coaching program, which is where you can get the most effective results if you're wanting help to implement on this. So both of those things are going to be in the description. With any kind of diet change, where most people get stuck is that they try to go hungry and they think that that is how they're going to see the best results. The opposite is in fact true. The more full you feel, the more satisfied you feel, which is going to come from eating a large volume of food where those potatoes and those veggies are going to come in, and then the kind of foods that you're eating, again, the potatoes, which have that high satiety index, that high satiety factor, they're going to help you to feel very satisfied. That is going to help you to be more consistent because you are going to have less cravings. When you derail your progress, it's not because you eat too many potatoes, it's because of the cravings for chocolate, chips, tacos, takeout meals, which are typically 2,000 calories just for one little takeout meal. That's not even drinks, that's not even dessert. A Ben & Jerry's tub is about 1,600 calories. So when we avoid and eliminate those big binges and those big cravings through consistently eating enough food, we're much more likely to actually get into that calorie deficit, get into that weight loss zone, and start seeing results. So avoid hunger at all costs. There's so much more that I could talk to about behavioral change, but I want to keep this simple. And if you want to know exactly how to build those weight loss meals and how to meal prep for this system, then I created another video for you which you can go and check out next. And I would also love to see in the comments which one of these things you are going to implement first. Are you on the bandwagon? Are you looking to lose some weight over the next 3 months? And if so, let's do it. You got this. I'm rooting for you, and I'll see you next week for another video. Go crush it.